Welcome to Shift Your Hips, Core, and Pelvic Floor Muscles. I'm Tammy Shaw Sykes, and I am a pain relief and posture alignment specialist. The reason for having this class is because a lot of my clients, male and female, come in with low back pain. We're doing a lot of sitting. How is that affecting us? The more we sit, the more we're changing our bodies without even realizing it. Sometimes that can have some negative effects. So we're hoping that this kind of gets into those muscles. So I've had to kind of create some things where instead of a traditional exercise class, I decided to kind of go into a little bit more opportunity of awareness of how's my body moving, but also let's get that thing grooving. So I'm so excited that you guys are here. So we're going to be talking about those hips. This is going to be the areas that we're kind of talking about. The pelvic floor muscles are going to be on the inside, but our sacrum and L5, L4, that's an area where a lot of times people have a lot of back problems, pinching, sciatic nerve right in here. So we're going to be working on all of these areas today, really subtly, very gently. There's 7 different layers of muscles, and we're going to kind of be working with those today. Because we want you grooving. We want you having some fun and getting up there moving. So these are some of the pelvic floor muscles. Here's your glutes. Of course, you know about your glutes, but there's a lot of deeper muscles that are in there. So we're going to get into some of those deep muscles, those pelvic floor muscles. Pelvis is different from male to female. We're just going to treat it as one today. So there's going to be times where we're going to be getting into these deeper muscles. Again, that's why we're kind of talking about that low back area, because the low back area is what helps the hips to move, and the hips help the back to move. So those should actually move independently instead of everything all clunky side to side. A lot of times you can see people just kind of shifting their weight from side to side because their hips and their low back don't move independently anymore. We can avoid that by getting into those muscles here again. And there's also nerves in there. That's why we're going to be moving pretty slowly when we first begin to kind of warm these things up, because here's a sciatic nerve that a lot of people have problems with, but people forget that there's other nerves involved as well with movement that come off your disc. If you move too fast, too quickly, when your body's not warmed up and prepared, things can happen. It's just happened to my husband this morning. Just kind of did some advanced volleyball after pushing some ice and water around yesterday. So he just picked up something very light, placed it, but he was reaching. So our discs are meant to open and close, and they can actually, when they close, they can sometimes pinch a nerve along the way. So we got him taken care of. But much like the heart, it's inside. Heart is inside. We know that it has a job to do. We know that it keeps the blood pumping, keeps our temperature, can raise up as we're getting more active. We know that when our heart isn't working, it has stopped and we've got some problems. But just because it's inside and we know that it's there, doesn't mean that we have to constantly think about it. Today we will. Just like your muscles, there's things that move. And sometimes we don't realize, unlike the heart, we know when it's broken. But sometimes we don't realize that things aren't quite working. So I want us to kind of have an understanding of, when do we use our pelvic floor, our hips, our core? When we're walking, when we're stepping, when we're sitting in various different positions, whether it's sitting up, leaning forward, that's putting different pressures on our hips, on our back. This is one of my mentors, Eric Dalton. This is Julia. She's adorable. She's the mascot for Costa Rica, and he is having the opportunity to work on her pelvic floor muscles, her leg muscles, her low back through positioning. And I'm a manual therapist. That is my mentor. When I work with people on the table, that's how I work. But it's a long time since going to Costa Rica to have Eric Dalton work on you. It's not an opportunity for me. And I'm the only myoskeletal alignment therapist in the state of Minnesota. So I've had to create some different opportunities to get into those muscles and keep things moving for myself. So I wanted to share those techniques with you. And yes, even when we're sleeping, those muscles and how the bones are situated can make a difference. So let's just talk a little bit, and we're going to make this short and sweet. When we're doing a lot of sitting, what can happen is, especially if we've got that kind of rounding our backs, scrunching up with our shoulders, that can actually go and affect our pelvis. So we end up with our actually having our bones kind of tip forward. And that can go and cause a little bit more problems into that low back area. Neutral is kind of where we've got a little bit of curve in our back. And then, of course, leaning forward too much and kind of slouching back, that can go, and when you're in this type of repetitive movement, that can go and cause the anterior pelvis to kind of lean anteriorly. So then the hips don't move quite as easy as well. So low back pain can happen both in the anterior and posterior. Sometimes it doesn't happen until all of a sudden we move the wrong way, and what just happened? So we want to kind of make sure that our bodies are in neutral as much as possible. And I wanted to share some of those tips today. So of course, even when we're skateboarding or playing in the snow, our hips are active. When we're standing, moving, walking, even breathing can affect our pelvic floor muscles. And of course, with our jobs, and sometimes it could be even at home. In Minnesota, we've had a lot of water, a lot of snow, so we're kind of ice, so we're kind of maneuvering that around. Combine that with volleyball, where we're stretching and opening, that can be a little bit of an overuse type of a position. If anybody's ever helped anybody move recently as you've gotten older, all of a sudden it's like it's not as easy as it used to be. So things can happen. Put that extra pressure on that low back. Of course, posture disorders, that's what I work with. A decreased lumbar lordosis, you can see that here where he's got that slide where it actually has that pelvis is actually tipped backwards towards that low back, putting more pressure there. Increased weight, as well as even smoking, can make a difference because there's less hydration in the joints. We need to keep them moving, and that creates more fluidity. Standing. I used to have what my husband would call the power pose. He's like, I always know when you're talking with somebody because you've got your power pose. Well, what I didn't realize is that was actually jacking up my hip. So in this case, he's actually dropping the right hip down, left one up. Chances are at some point he's going to come in and say, I've got some low back issues going on the left side. Funny. Unfortunately, the hips can actually get stuck in that order if you're doing that on a continual basis. And how does that affect us financially as well as life-wise? With COVID and everything, a lot more people were working from home. Some people were working before that. But because of having the desks, uncomfortable chairs, standing desks were at home, sitting and doing more work, 41% of employees working from home reported more lower back pain. A lot of them had more neck pain. We'll talk about that another time. So I want to talk about first our breathing. So right now we're just kind of sitting, but I want us to kind of think about our breathing. So I'm going to have you help me out. So we're just going to grab onto the top of our head, and we're going to put a little string there, pretend string, and we're going to inhale, up, exhale, down. Inhale through the nose, up, exhale, down. Inhale, up, exhale, down. Inhale, up, and exhale, down. Awesome. So yes, that's actually raising and lowering, but I want you to do it again with the opposite arm, but I want you to feel how the area that you're sitting on changes. So let's do that again. Pretend string, and you're not going out, you're going straight up. And inhale, and exhale. Inhale, and exhale. And inhale, and exhale. Now you may or may not have noticed a change. I probably should have had you sit on the front part of your chair, like about the first 6 inches. That's going to sit you up taller and put your joints into a better position. So in case you weren't, let's just try that again. And inhale up, and exhale down. Inhale up, and exhale down. Feel how that's moving those? So you're lifting up your diaphragm, you're lifting up This is what I call an alignment breath. So a lot of times if I'm working on a massage, using that manual therapy, I'm having my clients, I'm tapping the top of their head to kind of inhale up, and it kind of helps to guide that breath up. So it helps to open up the whole rib cage, to open and expand and then collapse. With my scoliosis clients, it's actually combining that with movement. We're actually being able to reduce the curvature of their spine. So this is kind of the ribs on the diaphragm. It doesn't matter today, but we will be kind of thinking into that area. But again, here's that diaphragm and here's that low back. So there you might feel a little pressure or a little release. So another type of a breath that I do is what I call the belly breath. And that's where I want you, and it works a lot easier if you're laying down, but we're going to do just this way right now. And we're going to inhale, blow up like Santa Christmas time, and exhale. And inhale, blow up that belly like a big balloon, and exhale. And blow up really big, and exhale. So what's happening is you're actually using the air in this pelvic floor area. Okay, we're going to put it this way. So what's happening as you're inhaling is expanding and relaxing, expanding and relaxing, expanding and relaxing. So that's some of the ways that I use two different types of breath to get into those. You may notice that, oh, my buttocks feels a little different. My hips feel a little different. So we're going to kind of move on just real quick. Again, because we talked about the alignment breath, but we also talked about what do you feel? You see why, as you're breathing in, you're going up, and that's actually lifting the muscles underneath your tailbone. And that inhaling, lifting up, and exhaling, bringing it back down. So it's working in different ways to get into those pelvic floor muscles. This is one of the reasons why I want you actually sitting down, so you can actually feel things changing. But let's kind of get into some movement. So we started with our breath. We started with the alignment breath. We also did some belly breaths. But let's do it this way. Let's get some movement going on. So I want you to bring your belly button up towards the top of your head. Bring that belly button up, 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 up. And down, 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 down. Belly button up, 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 up. And back down. Now we're getting into some different muscles in that pelvic area, aren't we? And belly button up. Belly button down. So you might actually notice that it kind of like pushes in. It's almost like pushing towards your back and bringing that back out. Pushing towards your back. So you're getting into that whole tailbone area right in here as you're using that breath, shifting that belly button up, opening, and back down. Back up, and back down. So we're starting to get in more into those pelvic floor areas. All right. So you may just have your hands onto the side there. Kind of tip that screen down. And again, belly button up. And this time hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Belly button down. 1, 2. So you're almost pushing your hips down to the floor. Belly button up. So I just want the belly button actually. Feel how that's kind of getting into those muscles on the fronts of the legs. And push that belly button back. So you might feel your hips kind of moving into the belly button up. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. And push that belly button back. So So you can move your belly button in different ways. And of course, for those of us that are more familiar, it's similar to a pelvic tilt, but I like done a little bit more intensely. You've actually have 7 different layers. I don't know if you noticed on that other screen, there was lots of different layers of muscles that we have. We've actually got in some areas of our body, we got 7 different layers. This goes in the very, very deepest layer. So we're just really getting right into that area. And that's also why I have you kind of doing things very gently, because remember that picture that had all those nerves coming off of that? That's important. So we want to kind of move gently, kind of warming things up. All right. And this time, I'm so glad you guys are still sitting on the front part of the chair, because it's keeping our bodies more in aligned. And this time I want you, and hopefully, if you don't have your shoes off already, if you can, just flip those shoes off. And we're going to push down on one heel. So basically, you're going to set your body up where you're sitting, your torso is right above your hip, and that's going to be 90 degrees from your leg, which is going to be 90 degrees from your lower leg, which is going to be 90 degrees from your toe, and your feet are actually going to be pointing forward. So watch that. Make sure that their feet are both going straight, that one isn't turned out. Okay, that's going to make a difference. We're only going to do one side, and then we're going to do the other. So we're going to be rotating those hips, but we're going to be using our leg, that greater trochanter muscle. We're going to use our body weight. So push that heel down and inhale up, exhale down, inhale up, exhale down, inhale up, exhale down, inhale up, exhale down, and relax everything. Awesome. Kind of got into that hip, didn't it? Do a great warm up. So it's also a great exercise to just kind of, if you notice on our shiftne.com website, it's under the Shift Your Posture. It's called a heel push. All right. I tease that it's one of the best exercises that no one's doing, because it helps to strengthen, helps with alignment, and it helps to strengthen so that we've got better balance. Okay, let's go to the opposite leg. And again, make sure that that foot is going straight. Sometimes what I do is I have my clients, especially if their feet like to turn out, I have them put like a yoga block in between, because neurologically the brain goes and says, oh, I should keep my feet like this, so that they start lining up, because we have a tendency a lot of times to turn our feet out. That was my problem years ago. And as I learned how to correct that, it's like, what could I have done differently? So now I watch for that, because I was having a lot of left hip issues because both feet were turning out, but the left one was much worse. And that was also where I had more back problems, more hip problems, more knee problems. So that can make a difference. Oh, I found with my clients, by helping them to guide their feet forward, they're having better balance, they're having less pain. In some cases, no pain at all. Ideally, as we age, that's what we want, to live our lives as comfortably as possible and to not have pain. We still didn't do this other one. So let's make sure that foot is pointed forward and push that heel down. And inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Awesome. So as you're pushing that down, so we're going to have you do that again to kind of bring that hand up. So as you're pushing down, what's happening is basically you're pushing down on the leg. Let's see. And here, we'll do it this way. So as you're pushing down on your leg, see how that opens up this area of the back and the hips, so that you start getting more movement in there. But we're doing it very, very gently. I had to come up with this exercise for an 89-year-old scoliosis client. How can I live more independently? They want me to move. So and how can I get myself out of pain? So I came up with this exercise, and she actually was doing that, and then eventually did it on a pillow. And she found even within 2 weeks, she was stronger and having less feeling like she was going to fall. So, and then I realized that this is a good exercise for any of us to be able to do. All right, let's go back to that first leg. and heel down, and inhale, and exhale, inhale, and exhale, inhale, exhale, and relax. And the opposite leg, push down, inhale, and exhale, inhale, and exhale, inhale, exhale, and relax. Let's do that third time. I usually like to have people do it 3 times, alternating sides, 3 to 5 times. All right, push that heel down. You can probably feel those glute muscles getting stronger, your legs, your calves. This is helping to strengthen for osteoporosis, your bones. So, because you're pushing down, so you're still using your body weight. Push down and inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, exhale, and relax. Go back to the other side. Push that heel down. Make sure that foot's still straight. And inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale, and relax. So if you don't have a yoga block, what you can also use is like a small book, something about 6 inches apart or about hip width apart. You can just put something in there. What happens is the brain actually neurologically gets a feedback saying something's in there. So even though your foot might want to turn out, it'll kind of come back even on its own without you even thinking about it. Speaking of thinking about, when I have people push down, what happens is a lot of times when you push or you hold something, the brain goes and says, I need to hold my breath. So that's why I include the breath in there. So you might even feel like your rib cage and your core is feeling a little bit more open. So great job. So before we get out of the chair, I'm going to do couple of other questions, couple others real quick. And we're going to bring the one knee forward. So put your hands on the tops of your legs and just shift that forward. See how when you shift that forward, that opens up the back of the hips there? All right, and inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, exhale, and relax. Brings that hip back. These are going to be really, really helpful when we get into yoga and belly dancing tomorrow. All right, and now let's shift the other leg forward. And inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, exhale, and relax that back. Believe it or not, I had a client that's actually going to be leaving for Lake Tahoe, flying out there to go skiing. He had some low back issues. And when you're sitting in those airplane seats, after you've been sitting in the airport seats, these are actually really good. You don't even have to be moving, but you can still do all of these exercises in an airplane seat without affecting anyone around you or behind you. And it's mimicking the idea of getting up and walking. All right, this time we're going to bring that knee forward, but I want you to just kind of be aware. So I want you to just gently turn your head about 45 degrees. So we're going to bring that knee forward, turn that head in the same direction as the knee, and inhale. And exhale. Feel how that changes the inside of the muscles? Type here in the chat if you can kind of feel that. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. And release it back. Awesome. And let's bring the other knee forward. And good to go. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. And this time, let's bring it forward again. Turn your head just a little bit and inhale. And exhale. Inhale. and exhale. Feel how that really gets into those front muscles. Inhale, exhale, as well as in the back, and gently bring that back. So this is our opportunity to just kind of open things. We're opening up our hips forward and back, as well as side up and down, back and forward, kind of flossing those, getting into those nerve areas, getting into those really tight areas. So I think that's actually where we're gonna leave it today, because I promised you about 25 minutes, but I wanted you to have an understanding. So tomorrow we're gonna start getting into, we'll do just a little bit of this as a warm-up. We won't have a talk ahead of time. Or if we do, it's gonna be really, really fast, because I think I wanna start playing. Because belly dancing was a great opportunity for me to start learning about moving the knee, shifting the hips forward from back to back. And belly dancing can be done for anybody. What I like is it gives an opportunity when you're going really slow to open up the hips and the core and those pelvic floor muscles. Oh, you know those ones that start getting a little bit weak, especially as we get older. So then we can start being afraid of, like, I could actually tell when people were over 40 running a nightlife group, which is like we go out dancing, and then there was that song, and cut and jump, and everybody was jumping, and then there got to be a certain point where we got a little older, and everybody's like, yep, and fake jump. We would just fake jump, just up and down, fake jump, because especially us ladies, the guys would jump, we would not, because the pelvic floor gets weak, and all of a sudden there's little surprises when you sneeze, you cough, or you jump. So we're going to be working on strengthening those muscles. First, we wanted to get in and kind of work on those, kind of get in and have an awareness of where those are. Tomorrow, we're going to start moving those and shaking those and having some fun. Because at any age, we need these hips, core, and pelvic floor muscles moving to keep us strong. So see you tomorrow. Come back at the same little link, and we're going to start moving it and shaking it. And yes, we'll be introducing some yoga poses into there as well. So we kind of combining that 15-20 minutes, that 20-minute workout. So it'll be a little shorter tomorrow, but it's going to be about 20-25 minutes of moving and shaking it. And send me a little email on there too, at tammy@shiftne.com. Tell me what some of the favorite things that you like to move and groove your hips to. Thanks, guys. See you tomorrow.